in the beginning, you were doing it to just appease the seller, right? Like, hey, look at what I'm doing for you. And then now it's kind of morphed into being able to help the buyer put themselves into that home, right? To mentally see themselves into that story. So can you kind of start to walk through kind of the whole process of when this starts? I mean, does it start as soon as you know you're going to go there, you do some research? Does it happen when you start talking to them and you're actually there? Kind of walk us through kind of your process of being able to create this content.
It's honestly, it's the best way to secure a listing as well. So I think the very first step for me is when I meet the seller. I mean, I never sit down at the kitchen table first. I always ask them to give me my dad's old saying, a 2-cent tour. That's what I always go with, and they love it. And as you're starting that tour with them, you just ask questions and you just be as inquisitive as you possibly can. And it's, if they've done a unique renovation, hey, what made you think of doing this? Why did you add this color? What's the story on this? You see an old photo, maybe it's a photo of the property, those old aerial photos, and you zoom in on that and go, hey, what was that barn? How long? And by the time you're done this walking tour, I guarantee you know why they bought that property, why they want to sell it, what they miss, what they're going to miss about that property, any cool fact you're going to be able to get out of them just before you even sit down and start your listing presentation. And my listing presentation really relies heavily on storytelling. So when you're able to give them back some thoughts on how you would market this already from your initial tour of the property, they're already so excited because you're painting a picture of what this is going to turn out like, and you're already showing how other buyers are going to fall in love with it because that's what they fell in love with when they purchased it. So the very first step of the process is your walking tour and building that rapport with your client. And John, you always taught me, what was your sixth step in your listing process? Rapport. That's
That's it. Yeah.
how you get the glue right then and there.
Yeah.
There's so many questions. If you start practicing the questions too, they just kind of roll off your tongue, just like any type of scripting. But the one I love is, when you purchased this property, it could have been 30 years ago. Well, what made you actually buy this property? Because that jogs their memory back. They're like, well, I was just driving down the road. And I mean, what about this road had you stop? Well, it's close to this. I'm like, okay. And then you could just take those questions and go so deep off just simply phrasing them and positioning them the way that you want to get that information out.
I love that. As you were saying it, I was just going back to all the homes that I've lived in, and I immediately started thinking, okay, well, that's why we bought in that one. Oh, that's why we bought into that one. Like, you can remember it. And I think because we're in such a transactional, business, that we sometimes lose sight of that. Right. And yet they haven't done, bought and sold as many houses as we've helped clients buy and sell. So sometimes I think we forget that and we lose a little bit of that human connection. And so, like, just what you said right there is so important, right? To get them into that and drawing up that emotion of why they bought into it. So that's really good.
It's gold. And then the next process would be my listing process, which we don't have to go into that right now, but that's it's a really great way to solidify the listing appointment. But let's fast track to potentially, you have the listing, they're excited to work with you. How do you prepare yourself to write the video, right?
Yeah.
What I used to do, guys, is I used to write out the entire script. It would be sometimes, depending on the property, it could be a page long, it could be 4 pages long, because you're already collecting all that data anyways. You're already collecting the ages of everything, what the best features about the home are. And then it would be putting it into a voiceover type of format. So I would, because I originally started doing things off camera, like I would do, the classic intro, extro, and then jump on camera for some of the main features, which is totally fine as well. At least you're getting on camera, right? But then I found that took a lot of time to write out this, because you have to have your voiceover written out. Otherwise, you're going to be there for too long. You're going to miss things. And when you try to do it off the cuff, it just doesn't flow as naturally as you would if you prepared earlier. So then what I actually started doing about a year and a half ago is I would just write my intro, because your intro is the most important. And then I would just jump with my camera guy, and I already know the facts of the home anyways. And I just go through room by room. And it works out extremely well, because even though the videos might be a little bit longer, you get so good at it. Your first couple of times is you'd step into a room and you're like, oh, I'm in the front foyer. What can I say about the front foyer? But after you do this 5 or 6 times, it's so easy. Like yesterday, I was shooting a video. I opened the door. I'm like, oh, what a great property. You got concrete parking, you got concrete driveway. You can fit 4 cars. You got the detached garage. I'm in the foyer now. This home is ideal. Look at the size of this mudroom. And then you just start looking around and you walk through the property. And it's so easy eventually to do that. And it takes so much less time because you're only preparing an intro and an extra. And even with your cameraman, you're not on the camera the entire time. He still shoots me on camera the whole time, but he just, he pulls out and does B-roll of the things that I'm actually specifically talking about. But it creates that flow as you're going through. That's more the walking tour style, and I can show you an example of that as well. It's a very easy style to do for video, and then I kind of do some other styles. When homes are very, very unique, I do a slower approach. Sometimes I don't even talk on camera, and I'm telling a whole story. And sometimes that's more comfortable for some people as well. So the process of writing out the script, that's kind of how it's morphed into now for me, is just that hook and extra. The extra really is just selling, talking about the area, right? Because those are some facts that I want to do a voiceover on that I might just not be able to pull from my from my head. For instance, the distance it is to the highway, to the hospital, to the schools, what are the school names, whatever it is that is attractive for that area, for that property. And then for the hook, we all know hooks, right? I don't like to call it a hook. I don't know. I feel like it's just, it's what you need to do is, and this is why I do it this way, is I used to watch videos of, I didn't know the house had an in-ground pool till 2 minutes into the video because they did the tour of going in the front door, blah, 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 and then go into the back, then go to the basement. Like that's just the natural flow. But no, I wouldn't, I'm already bored. I'm already past that video. If it had a pool and a shop, that's great. That's what my clients want. We don't really care about the house. And sometimes if you actually show a video of the house, you lose clients because the house is not renovated inside. Sometimes I stay outside the entire time because I know when I go in the front door, I'm going to lose them. They're gone because it needs a lot of work. But the value is in the location, it's in the shops or the outbuildings or just the street it's on. So I'm going to sell them on that street and how rare it is and talk about all the other houses on the street before I even get inside. So it's really, that's a whole process of thinking of the buyer that you're looking at, and making sure that video is really speaking to them. And then it's when you actually have a good repertoire or a good amount of videos, you can really watch the watch time on those videos. How many minutes did people stay on for? Did you lose them in the first 2 seconds? I lost a lot of people in the first 3 seconds. That was my next. They scrolled right past me. So wait, what can I do in the first 3 seconds to really dial them in? And that's where you really want to make sure you're hitting the best features about that home right off the hop. And you can get really creative with how you do your hooks. And everyone thinks a story in my brain. This is how I used to think, like a story was a story time, like a bedtime story. And you can see that in some of my videos. Like I really needed to have a beginning and ending and like something happened, you know what I mean? But no, a story could just be a 3 second hook in the beginning. And I'll give you an example is I shot a video yesterday and I used a negative to attract people. I said, do not buy this home if you're one of 3 people. Number one, if you hate the fact that you have a big detached shop in the backyard that's heated. 2, if you have 0 friends and you could never imagine entertaining people in this back porch right beside your brand new kitchen. And number 3, if you would hate to live in peace and quiet and tranquility in a small town. And there's a quick story, right? It's a hook. It's 3 seconds. It catches your attention. And in that 3 seconds, I nailed my buyer. Whoa, there's a house with a shop in town. Oh, the backyard is the best feature about the home because it is. And then number 3, it's in where its location is. And then I can go into my walking tour. So, John, that was a new realization I'm learning because
I
sometimes,
love that.
yeah, because the storytelling can sometimes just be too daunting.
Yeah.
It's too much work and you're thinking, okay, I have 3 listings coming up. How am I going to tell the story? I know it's a big thing. Well, some listings are way bigger than other ones, and you're going to want to make sure you utilize that caliber of a property for the best of your best. And then you have these small ones and, you make it manageable and duplicatable and doable. So that was kind of yesterday's spin on it. And even, you know, I won't know how far, how much time I have to go into my long form. I'm a big advocate of having YouTube horizontal landscape as a way that people view your videos on realtor.ca or on your social medias or on YouTube, because they live longer. They're like a living billboard, I call them. Literally, I get so much business from these, having these like longer form videos. And then the short form is kind of like, that's where you get those high on those views, right? You throw a little vertical out, it's 30 seconds, under a minute, and you get that 25 shares, 100 shares to other people. And it's a really important tool to have. And I don't do a reel on every video that I do, but on certain properties, yes, because it's a great attraction tool, especially during the spring market. Your clients love it. I even read my clients. I'm like, this client's never seen a reel before. They're not even going to care, but these ones will. So I'm going to take that extra 5 minutes to make sure, not five, it's more than 5 minutes. I'm not going to try to sugarcoat it, to produce that reel on top of my normal long form video. Spencer on this call, actually, he has a really great videographer that's been able to shoot him in landscape and zero in, cut in the frame, and make some really great reels. If you check out his social media, you can see that. My videographer, he hates doing this because he's like he just believes in cinematic, and it's not true to his art. So we're actually experimenting on some new angles that we're shooting that this might work, and I can update you guys if it does, because nobody wants to repeat a video twice. Do you know what I mean? In two different formats, vertical and horizontal. But if you just spend an extra couple minutes, or I would say an hour, I spend thinking of the best way to shoot a vertical reel on a short story timeline. It can be very impactful for certain listings that you do. And I'll give you an example from yesterday. I'm listing a property that is going to be really high in price point, but it's because there is a potential to sever 2 lots off the back. So I can recite this. This is amazing. But I started off my reel as in, I wanted to be a little bit hooky, going, hey, I think I found the best opportunity to break into Delaware for the entire real estate market for 2025. Boom. And then I say, hear me out. And then I walk past the house. I'm like, this house is located on one of the best corners you could be on, with multi-million-dollar homes down the street. And then I ended it with, think about this. If you're an investor, you could potentially sever this into 3 lots, sell the front house, sell a lot, and then you've offset the cost now to build your dream home. Does that sound like you? Boom, done. And then again, I would do my long form video, but think about what that can do to attract some potential buyers in your pocket and clients for the future. And that's a quick story, right? It was a little bit of a story with a hook, done.